I got a little bit of time, so let me read a little bit more from How I Lost 100 Pounds in 100 Days. And I'll start where I kind of left off on the last one. I did lose 100 pounds while still drinking like a fish each and every single day. I did not stop or even slow down my drinking at this time. I may have even drunk more beer during this time. I could have possibly drunk less hard alcohol, but I didn't let off the beer gas pedal at all. I kept drinking a lot of beer while I was losing this weight. Roughly somewhere around an 18-pack of beer within a 3 to 4 hour window was about the average number of beers that made me feel even keel and normal if I were to start drinking late in the evening. Sometimes a little less, and oftentimes a whole lot more. But it was rare that only a 12-pack could be enough to make me feel even keel. Maybe some good, like IPA with a high alcohol content per volume can do it. With only like a 12-pack. And that was a big maybe. But I never really found that out because I always had alcohol on deck, just in case those situations arose. Hard liquor was always my ace in the hole if I really needed it. Like I said, it was about the alcohol in my bloodstream over the number of beers that I drank. And if I was drinking all day, I would just maintain my homeostasis by continually drinking like clockwork. I am not proud of this. I'm not embarrassed of this either. Well, yeah, I kind of am, but I'm not. What are you going to do, right? I just need to make sure that I never become that person who relies on alcohol ever again. When I finally decided that enough was enough as far as being a fat 320-pound person goes, I kicked myself in the butt immediately and did the only thing I really ever knew how to do then. And that was work. One thing that I am proud of is my work ethic. I have the ability to work myself to the bone, which is not healthy. It's not good. But I have that ability. I know this now. At the time I didn't know this. My whole life I didn't know that. But all that I really knew then was that hard work always pays off. And in general it does. But there are always limits to how hard we should work before we are going the other way and damaging our bodies. I made so many mistakes in this process of losing this initial 90 pounds. I went from 320 pounds to 230 pounds in just 90 days. That I remember doing and completing my mission. That I remember doing and completing my mission. I made a bet with my little brother that I could do that too. He knew I could do it too. He just had to motivate me by telling me that I was going to give up. And if I did not have him motivating me in that way, I may have very well gave up early. So we made a bet, and I showed him pictures of my weight on the scale, on the scale the entire time I was dropping weight. I was texting him pictures throughout this process, even though he lived with me, but I wasn't with him, when I was weighing myself. I had always kind of thought that I knew at least the basics of nutrition at this time. Because I was into athletics and weight training, I followed all kinds of diets that were in the muscle magazines for years. I thought that was how healthy people eat. I would still eat so much processed foods, from fast foods, microwavable foods, junk foods, and of course, drinking beer. My caloric intake from beer a day was probably more than many people consume from their food in a day. My calories had to be insanely high, which if they were from the proper sources, wouldn't have been so bad. I worked in a brutal trade in high heats in summertime, and I lived in a very high fuel-burning lifestyle outside of my job as well, which was masonry. So I required really high calories to live, but the sources of my calories were from mostly processed garbage, man-made foods. I changed none of this during this initial weight loss. I changed none of it. I made up for it with extreme volume cardio. And I mean a ton of cardio. This was one of my many, many, many mistakes that I made. But I would not change it for the world. I learned from every single mistake that I made, and I'm here to share my mistakes with you, so you do not possibly make the same mistakes. At this time, my thinking was that if I try and punch a hole in a block wall, it does not make a hole. That means that I obviously didn't punch it hard enough. That's how I thought. And I must punch it harder next time to make a hole in it. I was stupid. I took myself from fat and lazy slob who gave up on myself to a cardio freak instantly, which I was before that at one time. From day one, I went to a cardio freak. I went balls to the walls with cardio and was dead set on losing a specific amount of body weight, no matter what, because I bet my brother. Even though I could have made life so much easier on myself had I knew about nutrition then as much as I know now. If I can go tell the old self, man. If I knew then what I know now, if I only knew then what I know now about nutrition alone, I would have had such a healthier weight loss experience. It is a good thing that I was young, already previously in great shape at times of my life. And also, I do have pretty good genetics and am not prone to sickness, diseases, stuff like that. Like I said, I can work like a slave. Nose to the grindstone is all that I've ever known my whole life. I've been working my whole life since it's 14 years old. Full time since 14. I didn't go to school. I did not run any blood work on myself either, which is something that if I could go back and do all over again, I would have got blood work done on myself before, during, and after this big weight loss. Get blood drawn at least once a year, if not twice a year. Full panel. I imagine my blood work being horrible at this time. Good genetics can only hold on for so long before they become defeated by a toxic lifestyle. So what exactly would I have done differently if I knew then what I know now? Let's begin with the most important aspect, and that is nutrition. Our nutrition should be the most important aspect of our lives each and every day until we die, period. This is not debatable. How many people put their own nutritional needs first in their lives? Very few people do, especially now. In our Western culture, it is very few people. Even people who accidentally stay moderately healthy due to genetics, age, and non-addictive personalities still more than likely don't put their nutritional needs first in their lives. I know that I sure didn't for most of my life. I didn't learn this until I was in my mid-30s and really trying to learn about my own body and what can make me thrive longer on this planet. I talk about this all the time. There are too many distractions. We are losing our archaic instincts of survival. It is not going to get better either, as technology is leading us down this path. The better the technology gets, the dumber that we as human beings seem to get. Even though we think that we are getting smarter because we have got so much information at our fingertips. What is the radius of Jupiter in meters? 69.911 million meters. I just Googled that in 2 seconds and see now I know that, right? Even though I don't know how to come up with that conclusion. I just know the conclusion. You see, we think we know everything because we can be told things on the internet in a blink of an eye. But who figured that equation out? Is it even accurate? Did someone just completely guess that and now it is so because it's on the internet? Now obviously, scientists who are way smarter than what we are, or at least what I am, figured those numbers out and figured out how to come up with that conclusion, right? And I will sleep easy tonight believing them to be accurate on that number. But I hope you get the point that I'm making here. Just because we can Google anything that we want and find the answer to it in less than a few seconds, that does not mean that we are now as smart as whoever it is that actually can figure that stuff out. You know what I mean? The internet is great. I make my living on it. I love it. And learning is great. Even entertainment is great. We all need that. But they all should have their place in our lives so they do not become distractions to us. There is such a thing as information overload. I have had it so many times in my life, especially since I began making my living providing information and entertainment to other people via the internet. I've had some really, really, really bad experiences with just taking myself too far, trying to become an entrepreneur. I got things on my website talking about that if you're interested in that, to how to not kill yourself trying to become an entrepreneur. I have had many times when I needed to back away and let the information ooze from my ears so that I can think clearly. To get back to the topic of nutrition, this is something that at this time in my life I didn't really dwell on. I always had thought that if I just followed what was in magazines or what was popular, I would be eating healthy by default. This was pre-internet era. The internet in the last 4 or 5 years has really boomed. The internet today and the amount of information out there in health and nutrition is enough to be a distraction for most people, especially people who know nothing to very little about their own nutrition. And that is almost everybody. That's pretty much everybody. They just don't know that because they can Google everything and everyone knows everything about everything. Everyone thinks they know everything about everything. A part of me is kind of glad that I wasn't really searching all over the web at this time in my life for information on nutrition. And in 2006, the information on the web was not what it is in 2018 or 19 now. We are in manic times, and everyone is fighting for your business. What makes it to the top of the lists and in front of the masses' eyes is always based on marketing. Know this, please know this. Valuable, factual information is not really as important as marketability. So do not just believe what you read, see, or hear. You must figure these things out on your own. In 2013, I wrote some books that in them I was telling people that all of the fad diets at that time were stemmed from basic bodybuilding types of diets. And they were and still are. This isn't the worst thing in the world, as even a basic bodybuilding rice, chicken, broccoli type of diet is far better than fast food. But nutrition for optimal health, and even taking it further than that, requires a dedication to becoming in tune with one's own body from the inside out. This does not happen overnight and requires an obsession with what is important. It's an obsession. It all begins with consuming 100% unprocessed foods. That's a perfect diet, begins with that. This is the base to start from. I was saying this in 2013, and I still say it to this day. I was learning this sometime around 2008. That's when I started learning this. I started figuring this stuff out, which is a few years after I have had enough of myself moment on that bike trail that I talked about earlier. I had already lost 100 pounds and kept it off with continued hard work. I still work hard. I will always work hard. I am not trying to say to avoid hard work. Life is hard. Hard work is a good thing and needed to lose a massive amount of weight and keep it off for life. So it takes hard work to do that, and you got to keep working hard. So I'm not saying hard work isn't good. But around 2008 or so, this time is when I really started to desire to learn about my own nutritional needs. And I now have a burning desire to never stop learning about my own nutritional needs. I wrote a song many years ago called How Addiction Turns into Obsession. I wrote this a long time ago, 20 years ago. I like to use this song title now in explaining how deep my obsession goes with my own personal vitality. It is way beyond an addiction. I am an addict. It runs through my veins at all times. I'm an addict. Born that way, you know? A lot of people are. I may as well channel it towards something that is pure and makes me become better, makes a better me. So a handful of years ago, I chose to become addicted to my longevity and find a way to be okay with living my own self. I still have trouble with that second one, and I probably always will. But hopefully, I've got many years left on this earth to figure this out. So I'm going to stop there, and I'll get into the next one whenever I get time. If you are watching this from an ad, this is free in the ebook. So is this. The vegan diet. This is the perfect diet right here. I got dozens of other free fiction, all kinds of stuff. You click the link and go to my website, and I got all kinds of free ebooks. Fiction, non-fiction, stuff like this, but this and that is related to what this is, and they're free in the ebook. Also, there's a free offer for right now. It might not be there. It won't be there at some point, so I can't do it at some point, but right now I'm doing it, and it's on my website. So if it's not there, then I'm not doing it anymore because it's just too hard to do. But click the link anyways. Also subscribe to this channel and watch the other videos where I read more of these other books that are related to whatever this channel is, which is anti-aging. This is not a fitness channel. This is more powerful than that. This is my anti-aging journey that I'm sharing with people, and hopefully they can take that and they can go on their own journey and add decades of high quality living to their life. So, have a great day.